British Columbia is a large supplier and producer of natural gas. The impetus for government getting into this was a recognition that there's a number of interests out there that would have something to say and want to participate in a fairly large project that was going to be within their communities' boundaries as well as within their traditional territory.
I think these agreements serve as a good template for how government can approach benefits agreements with First Nations with respect to a new developing industry, and they show the need for respecting and recognizing Aboriginal interests, even if the LNG industry doesn't develop as we anticipate.
Probably the biggest challenge was just establishing the relationships. I mean, we had relationships with the First Nations up there. There were some who were major players that we didn't have a significant relationship with. So it was really a question of building at least some initial trust that we weren't up there to do anything that would cause any problems. We were up there to try to put together various arrangements that might be of benefit to the First Nations up there.
A big aspect of these agreements was trying to address First Nations Aboriginal rights and title interests, as well as their economic interests. In exchange for the benefits that were provided, there were certain assurances that came back from the First Nations around how they wouldn't bring certain claims in relation to Aboriginal rights and title. That was a major component of the agreements.
So some of the benefits that will carry on regardless of whatever decision is made around liquid natural gas is that there's communities that actually have relationships where they either had difficult relationships before or they had no relationship at all. First Nation communities talking to First Nation communities, or non-Aboriginal and Aboriginal communities talking to each other, as well as stakeholders and other interested groups out there.
The one thing I think is really important to note is just the hugely collaborative effort that this was, not just amongst the First Nations, but amongst the companies involved, and in particular amongst governments. They all worked very closely to try to put together the necessary ingredients for a successful package.